Alright, let's talk about Galactic Legends in a little bit more in depth than I thought I wasn't going to talk about these in depth, but I think we need to. Just to have a little bit of an understanding where my headspace is at when you see how I'm making guides, maybe give you a little bit of additional guidance on how to move around the Galactic Legend space. So, first off, we're going to talk about them kind of in order. Not the GLs, but the accounts that are getting GLs, right? So we're going to talk about Galactic Legend Rushers first. The Sith Eternal Emperors and Kylo Rens of the world, right? What is your next step from here? You've already obtained the Galactic Legend. You've done something I haven't done already. Fantastic job. Clap, okay? Now, the next thing you need to do is work on your account's viability via grabbing other good squads. And what I mean is like going in and completing your other solo journeys, grabbing Omicron characters. Maybe you want Iden Versio or Wampa, whatever it is that really is going to help you on your defense. You need to work on it in here, not in the Galactic Legend space, right? Because what you've done by rushing a Galactic Legend is you basically glass cannoned your account. You've gone and kind of chased after some weaker squads along with some stronger characters that sit inside of the prerequisites, and you're really banking off of the GL to hold a spot for you while the rest of your characters kind of wipe the slate clean with whatever they can on the front walls of your enemy's GAC board. Now this is going to work out for you for a decent amount of time, but time is going to continue to roll, and as we get further and further in, you're going to see more General Grievous counters, you're going to see more Jedi Knight Revan, Jedi Knight Luke, Kylo counters, right? Eventually you're going to hit another person with a GL, and if you are not prepped and ready with other good teams in the back ranks, it's not going to work out for you. So I'd recommend pushing your account to about 3.5 million with other teams before starting to look at a Galactic Legend, and then you can go and look at what I'd recommend for the next tier of players, right? Now, the next tier of players, you guys, being anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 mil. Your account's still nice and young, healthy, you haven't made any big mistakes yet, right? You guys need to start looking at GLs now, right? Now I'm not saying you have to buckle down, nose to the grindstone, and crank one out just right off the factory line. No. You need to start figuring out what characters are within guides that you want to obtain, and then work towards those teams. Let me give you an example, right? I have Sith Eternal Emperor highlighted so I didn't forget which one I was going to talk about, right? The characters that you can select inside of here, he's got a few fantastic ones and a few duds. So if we are able to kind of balance out the good characters and make good squads, when we have to bite the bullet and eventually farm the duds, it won't feel as bad, right? So if we start off with, like, we can go Emperor Palpatine, Darth Vader, Mara Jade, and 2 other characters that shore up that team, right? You've knocked out 2 prerequisites for the Sith Eternal Emperor farm, and then on top of that, you now have a good team, a fantastic offensive team within your roster. Similar for, like, Piet, Veers, and Stark, right? You can go for the Trooper team and then finish them with Range Trooper and Dark Trooper. And instead of sacrificing the viability of these characters by not getting them their full team assets you would normally want, and focusing on these poopy prerequisites that says Sith Eternal Emperor, you're both completing him and making sure your roster is robust at the same time. Now remember, you are eventually going to have to come in here and farm out the Darth Sidious, the Darth Maul, the Count Dooku, right? You're going to have to bite the bullet on these characters eventually in order to get to the Sith Eternal Emperor. It's just kind of a fact of life. So preparing for that as best you can, so that way when you get into it, you already have characters you're happy with, and the grind is already halfway complete, is really going to make your life a lot easier, right? And real quick, before we move on to, like, the people who look like me, don't lock yourself out of Master Kenobi and Lord Vader, right? Your account's still fresh, young, right? You still have plenty of room to grow. Getting into any guild that can really do Wat Tambor is probably within your wheelhouse. Not to mention, going into the Relegate materials in C-Pit, as long as you're, pushing for good teams inside of your roster, as long as you're pushing them up to the relics to be able to do the C Rancor, you will get accepted in a guild who is willing to help you improve along the way. So don't lock yourself out of these, right? Just make sure that you are willing to push for a better guild. Now, those of you who look like me, we need to remove the gun from our foot, patch up the hole in our foot, and start pushing towards a GL. I would say people who have shot themselves in the foot are gonna have 3.5, 4 million GP and no Galactic Legend yet, right? There's a definite chance that you are within those numbers and you have a fantastic roster behind them. You know, maybe you're pushing Gas, Malik, and Jedi Knight Luke and everything above or below them, above them. It's above them physically, but below them tier-wise. You know what I mean, right? Maybe you have Executor farmed out, but realistically, a lot of people are coming to my videos, okay, they might look a lot like me. And what you need to do is figure out the Galactic Legend that is going to kind of have the lowest barrier to entry and has a decent trade-off in characters. Because like I was just talking about, each character, you're going to have to bite the bullet on something, right? So let's go and talk about Kenobi. When it comes to this, you're going to have to bite the bullet on Bo-Katan, Clone Sergeant, Cad Bane, Cody, right? 4 characters you're probably not really going to want to work out. And on top of that, if you're not pushing some of the squads that these characters come with, right? If you're not farmed up on General Grievous, it's going to feel bad. If you're not farmed up and prepared to slap a Omicron on Qui-Gon, then Mace Windu and Aayla Secure are going to just kind of feel like a homeless bunch. So you really need to figure what helps your roster the best. And that's something I can't tell you. That's something you have to determine personally, right? Part of the way you can determine that is by doing the journey guide like I just did, popping over into your roster, and actually just checking the journey guide tab. It's going to tell you all the characters you currently have unlocked, where you're needing these relics at, the characters that you need to still unlock and push for, right? All of the things that are really holding you back from this GL, and you need to determine if these are characters you are really willing to put that much more resource into or that little resource into, right? Don't forget the ships tab. The ships tab is very, very important. If you get all these characters and you haven't even started on Negotiator, or for like First Order people, right? If you go and get all of the First Order characters farmed out, but you haven't even started on their ships, how are you supposed to get the finalizer prepped and ready? Like, you need like what, 3 or 4 of the First Order ships and Houndstooth? You got to really make sure that you are prepped and ready for whatever GL you're going for. Not so much like, you know, I can get it now, but you know what I'm saying? It's what you're selecting, man. It has to be able to be something obtainable within a decent amount of time, and realistically is going to make you feel good about farming these characters. Not so much that like it's going to be the best teams that exist, right? Maybe you have a bounty hunter team that can hold Cad Bane currently, so putting relics on him and being able to use Xanadu Blood is something that you are okay with. And these are just the questions that you have to ask yourself. Finally, we need to talk about the Galactic Legends themselves, right? Not so much in like a tier list, okay? We're not going to talk about who's the best or who's the worst GL. There's no point in having that. Everyone's going to tell you this, that, or the other thing when it comes to who's the best GL, why they're the best GL, and you need to make that assumption for yourself. Baseline, every GL is going to be a good GL, right? They're always going to be a kind of trump card versus non-GL teams, or they're going to be something that you can use against other GLs, right? Let me talk you through the process that I'm thinking about when I'm farming for Jedi Master Luke. So he is a character who is able to beat about 4 of the current GLs that exist. I don't think he can beat Lord Vader. I can definitely beat Sith Eternal Emperor, Kylo, Rey, and Jedi Master Luke. Or Jedi Master Kenobi. Sorry, I am Luke. Right? He's the one I've chosen because he can beat all of those characters, right? And that's what you need to think about when going into a GL, right? Not what they can be beaten by, but what they can beat. How they can beat it. What is the biggest hurdle that you currently cannot climb, right? And remember, the characters that come with them can also be used against GLs. So I'm farming Luke twofold because he comes with Jedi Knight Luke to beat Kylo, and then he himself will be able to beat the other 3 GLs I mentioned. So it's kind of a 2-for-1 deal. This happens with some GLs, not all GLs. Lord Vader is a good example of getting gas to beat Rey, and then he can beat basically every other GL except for maybe Kenobi. Well, kind of a coin flip on that one. And that's it, man. That really is it, right? Don't get it twisted. Don't sit here and say, oh, well, you know, my favorite YouTuber says this GL is trash, so I'm not going to farm it, even though it's going to be fantastic for my roster, right? Because not every GL is used the same way. And the game is evolving to a point where we're going to start realizing that. Not every GL is just something you set on offense and forget, right? With Wampa existing, Sith Eternal Emperor is no longer a character people could put on defense, you know? So you need to really keep it in mind that as the game progresses, we are always in a power scaling, right? That's why guides and stuff always change as time goes on, right? But as CG has told us prior, Galactic Legends should always hold their power. A GL should always be able to beat at least one of these other GLs, and that's what you're banking on when farming one. That's it, man. I'll talk to you later. Peace.